This is part 4 of the discussion of birchat hachamah, the mitzvah of once every 28 years to recite a bracha of Osem Asa Bereshis when the sun hits the original point of installation on the beginning of the night before Wednesday, just as it was during Sheshis Bereshis. In part 2, this is part 4, but in part 2 I describe the ability to encounter the majesty, the magnificence, the wisdom, the intelligence of Ribono Shel Olam by viewing his universe, exploring his universe, not just the terrestrial part of the universe, the world we live in, but the heavens above, Hashemayim, Misaprim, Kavod Kel. And in that respect, to retrace the steps of Avram. Avram Avinu lived in a world infested with paganism, lost track of their true creator, and he looked in his world, he searched and he scanned his world, and he detected order, and he detected logic, he detected symmetry, and he reasoned there must be a creator. And even though, for many of us, this process of discerning HaKadosh Baruch Hu in creation is a very minimal part of our religious experience, for some it's more prominent, but for others it's minimal. We live in a post-Har Sinai experience where for us our encounter with God is more ritualized, Torah, Tefillah, Halacha. Once in 28 years we have an opportunity to relive and to retrace the footsteps of Avram Avinu. But the truth is, when Avram looked at the sun and the planets, he detected in the world at large, symbolized by the sun, he detected a lot more than just physics and cosmology, science and astronomy. The lashon of the Medrash describing Abraham's journey, not just his geographical journey from Eretz Yisrael, but his experiential journey to discover HaKadosh Baruch Hu, describes him as scanning his world over mimakom l'makom. He traveled from place to place. Vira bira dolekes. He saw that the city, the bira, was illuminated. It's a very strange metaphor, an illuminated city. Any other ways to describe? He saw hachamah, he discerned order, seder, chachma, tvuna, das. Avraham didn't just detect science. Avraham was inspired by the moral energy that he detected in this world. To him, it wasn't just the universe, it was a moral system which provided life. And at the source of this moral system, at the source of this life-providing system, was the energy of the sun, the order and rhythm which the planets imposed. And he reasoned that there's a moral impulse to this universe. It's not just cold, sterile science. There's someone or something that cares, that covets life and prosperity, wants to deliver that life and welfare, and has established this system. Avram detected Tov. And he detected Tov within the universe, and his role as Titin Emes Liakov Chesed LeAvram, as a distributor of welfare, was not just incidental to his role as great philosopher and discoverer of monotheism. He discovered HaKadosh Baruch Hu through his moral journey. He recognized the moral strength, the moral infinity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he coveted to mimic HaKadosh Baruch Hu's morality by distributing kindness and welfare on his own. He could only be the Ish HaEmunah if he were also the Ish HaChesed. During birchat hachamah, we'll recite the piyot as part of Shacharis davening on Shabbos. Kel Adonai l'kol ha'masim, baruch u'mevarach b'fi kol neshama. This piyot describes the planets, the heavenly beings, celestial bodies which HaKadosh Baruch Hu inducted. Some of it describes b'chachma v'das, v'ino v'haskiel, koach ha'gvur and asan, b'ayim HaKadosh Baruch Hu established this world with chachma, with wisdom. We also describe Godlo v'tuva, mali olam. His kindness and his generosity fills the world. Da'as u'tzvuna. Tovim liyaros, shebara lokeinu. They're not just imposing, they're not just brilliant, they're not just magnificent, they're also morally the source of energy, the source of life, primarily the sun. This endless source of renewable energy, this burning planet of hydrogen gas, provides life across the entire ecosystem, from the most minute microorganisms to, of course, the pinnacle of creation, Homo sapiens, human beings and humankind. And this is what Avraham discovered, and this is part of what we see in the sun. In Tehillim Parakuf Lamed Vav, which is called as Halal HaMitzri, so we describe all the acts of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all the acts of kindness and welfare which we're to be thankful for, and we end each description with Ki le'olam chazdo, God's generosity is eternal. Es Hashemesh lememshelas bayom, kili olam chazda. Kadosh Baruch Hu installed a sun to provide light, and his generosity is eternal. Es erech v'kochavim lememshelas balayla, kili olam chazda. We view this act, we view this system, this solar system, and the role of the sun as not just an act of science or cosmology, but an act of chesed, of kindness, altruism, benevolence. Or, as we recite in Perek Kuf Dalet, a very, very famous Perek of Tehillim, which we recite, some people recite it Shabbos after Mincha, most people recite it Rosh Chodesh. Asi liyarech lemoadim, shemesh yadam mevo, HaKadosh Baruch Hu installed the sun. Tashes choshech v'hilayla, and the sun sometimes even by setting, even by allowing night to fall, provides chesed. Not just by providing energy, but by fading from view and allowing night creatures to conduct their own nocturnal activities, hunting, smaller creatures which can't hunt during the day. Tashes choshech v'hilayla, botirmos kochai sayar. So when the sun fades and night sets, all creatures, like kafirim, young lions, young cubs, can get theirs. And then the next day the sun comes out, Tizrach Hashem Ashiyah Seifon. When the sun comes out, these beings, these bats and birds, these small creatures are forced to return to their caves, to their hidden locations, Ve'el Me'onasam B'yer Batzum, to wait for the next evening. So the sun provides chesed, not just providing energy in life, but also by seeding and allowing itself to set. This is what Avram discovered, and this is what the sun connotes to a Ohev Hashem as well. It's not just cold science, but the ability to sense the Chazdei Hashem, sense the system Hashem put into place because He desires human life to serve man, not so that man should abuse it, but that man should recognize L'sakin Olam Malchus Shakai V'Yeda Kolpo Ki Ata Pe'alto V'Yavin Kol Yitzur Ki Ata Yitzarto, to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the entire creation is contoured towards man as its pinnacle, to understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to glorify Shem Hashem. Very interesting Gemara in Bava Basra, well-known Gemara, Tezayin Amud Beis. Avram wore a little radiant locket around his neck, and all those who were ill would look at this locket. When Avram died, so Hashem took this locket and placed it in the sun. And at this stage, whoever looks at the sun is healed. Now, what's fascinating about this Gemara is that Avraham, as a provider of welfare, and the sun, as a provider of welfare, are associated. Avraham's role and the role of the sun are synchronous, are overlapping. When Avram was no longer able to provide that supernatural healing, so the sun continued to provide, and the sun was Avram's conduit for discovering HaKadosh Baruch Hu's healing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's delivery of prosperity and morality. So the sun for us is not just a fiery ball of hydrogen millions of miles away, millions of times the size of the earth. It's a source of energy. That's why there's so many psukim in Tanakh which cast the sun in moral terms. For example, very famous pasuk in the end of Devara's Shira, V'yohavav kitzeis Hashem es bigvurasa, those who love God and provide kindness to others, lead a moral lifestyle. Their lives are likened to the sun leaping out in the morning in full strength and vigor. The Gemara in many Gemaras, it's a Gemara which repeats itself several times, as well as in the Midrashim, Shabbos Peches, person is able to tolerate insult, not to retort, to retaliate, but to absorb insult and denigration. Ne'elavim ve'inam olvim, he's insulted without responding. Shomim charpasam ve'inam mishivim. Osim me'ahava, smechem b'yisurin, the Gemara concludes, Aleim akasav omer, of all the psukim to describe this person, v'yohavav kitzeis hashemesh bigvurasa, he's likened to the sun, mentioned before. The sun sets, allows itself to be pushed aside, to be pushed beneath the horizons, that night can take form. Golal or mipnei choshech, the choshech mipnei or. Night is just as crucial to the sunlight and energy. So when we see a sun, we don't just see Hashem's wisdom. We detect Hashem's moral energy. We're trying to discover forms of recyclable energy. This is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's form of recyclable energy. As we recite each day in davening, Le'osei Orim Gedolim, Mechadesh B'chol Yom Tamid, Masei V'Reishis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu renews and recycles energy through the sun. Le'osei Orim Gedolim, Ki Le'olam Chazda. We quote the pasuk in Tehillim, Perek Kuf Lamed Vav.